Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over how you can make trap soul beats inspired by Bryson Tiller. I'm going to show you guys a lot of my favorite tips and tricks for getting these beats to sound interesting as far as processing goes on your melodies, percussions, and hi-hats. So let's hear this and let's break it down step by step. Let's go. The percussion elements, the hi-hats, and all the textures are honestly some of my favorite parts of this beat, but let's get into the chord progression first. So let's go over to the original pattern right here, and we got the chord progression right here. Let me show you the sound we're using for it first. It's this pad from my Purple Skies Analog Lab bank that's perfect for R&B and trap soul. It is in a different key because I pitched the sample down. So if we go over here, you'll see we're scale highlighted in A sharp major. So we have about 5 different chords going right here. I built out the first major chord on the 1, which is A sharp. So over here, I'm going to show you real quick. We start off on A sharp here, skip this note, place, skip, place. Right here, we have the major triad chord. We have 3 spacings and then 2. Then we skip another 3 right here, or you could see we just skip 1 note in the scale. Right here, repeating pattern 3, 2, 3. A sharp major 7th chord right here. Then the next thing I did was drop 1 note in the scale right here. And for this, we're going outside the scale to get that R&B feel. And I built out an A dominant 7th chord. To build out a dominant, you skip 3 spaces, place a note, skip 2, place a note, skip 2, place a note. So we get some notes that are outside the scale right here and right here, but then we get this feel from it. That nice R&B feel, right? Then we go back into the scale. Over here, we drop down to G, and I just built out a G minor 7th chord. Drop down to G, skip 1 note, place, or you just know that you skip 2, then you skip 3, place, and skip 2 again, and place. Every other note in the scale, we get the G minor 7th chord. Then this is just a minor triad on D. So we go over here and we place 1 note here. We skip 2, place, skip 3, and place. We have the D minor triad. And all I did was take this A right here, shift click, control down arrow. And I have this as the bottom note right here. And we get this. And then what I did was take this same chord over here, duplicate it, and then I flattened this. And what this gives us is a suspended 2 chord. I kept that bottom note at A right here. If we go over here to stamp and select suspended 2 and place it, you see we get that suspended 2 chord. This right here just gives a nice tension to the chord progression before we drop back into the 1 of the scale, and it just sounds really good. That's all I did for this chord progression. Let's hear it by itself. I did the processing later with the sample. So the next thing I did was layer in a bass. Let's go hear that. So inside Purple Skies for the bass, I'm using this R&B sauce preset. It's one of my favorite 4 basses, and we'll go ahead and play it with the chord progression, but let's go into the MIDI for this. And as you can see, we're pretty much just following the root notes of the chord progression. So this is the chord progression bottom notes right here. And then this is what I went with. So you see we have the A sharp, we have the A, we have the G, we have the D, and then instead of an A right here, I actually chose to go with an F. F just added a little bit of tension that I like. So let me go ahead and play this with the chord progression so you can hear it. All right, so that's all that was in the beginning. So we went from this to this. Big difference. I'm going to show you how we do this. So I built out this main chord progression with the bass first, right? So over here, all I did was export this out. So we just copy this over here and we'll do Control-Alt-C, just do a quick render. So all I did was double click this and I went into here and I reversed it right here. And then I obviously pitched it, but let me just show you what happens when we reverse it. So I had the reverse first. Then because we reverse it, I still want it to play in order. So I'm going to go in here and just chop this up. So let's just chop this up every bar. I'm going to hold Shift and just click every other bar, chop it up like that. And then what we're going to do is make the end the beginning over here. So it'll be playing in reverse, but still playing in the pattern and the rhythm that we created originally. So let's bring all these over like that. We get something going like this. Then what I did is highlight all of these, and I did a fade in and a fade out. And really, I just went by ear to see what sounded good. Because then we're going to add in textures, right? So it's giving us like a little bit of a side chain. And then I don't remember how much I pitched it down. Let me look. Okay, so down by 3. So just double click this. This is on stretch right here. And I went down by 3. See what I'm saying? We're getting that trap soul feel. And I went darker for this. I could pitch this up and get a really cool sound for this and then speed the beat up even more. But I like how this sounded, especially because we're at the BPM of 107. It just gave it like a nice, slow, dark feel. And I like how that sounded. So on channel 1, this is where all the processing is happening. So again, you can hear without. Same melody you heard before, right? And then with all the processing. Sounds crazy. So let's get into what it is at first. We have some EQ. I'm just cutting out some low end and a little bit of like low mids around that 275 range. It was just a little bit of buildup. It's just going to depend on the sample and really how you played it, what you pitched it to for that EQ curve. Then the next thing I have is Portal. This is the default setting. When you add in Portal on the default setting, it adds in a nice pumping by default, and it's just a little bit of like a sidechain feel to it. So before Portal, with it, it sounds like a little bit of a wobble with the volume. So by default, I like adding that in. Even sometimes adding it twice on the default will make that even more prominent. It just sounds really good. Then the next thing I'm doing is kickstart. So I added in a quarter note of kickstart, which is just going to add a bit of sidechain ducking again to the volume. And then I brought down the mix by 70%. So before. So we kind of have like a half note, a quarter note, and an eighth note of pumping, which just gives it a lot of rhythm. And then I have another Portal loaded in. I believe this one, yeah, digital tape toys brought down to, I don't know, like 10, 11%. This is going to give us the textures in the background. Because we have all those pumping and spaces available, these textures are going to have a place to flow and be heard, which is really nice. Is really one of those perfect methods to get this to sound good because we have the pumping, which leaves sound, volume ducks out from the melody, and then using some type of granular plugin will add in those sounds where it is ducked out, and it just really accents them and makes them sound good. Honestly, Portal is one of the best granular plugins for adding textures and interesting sounds to your beats. This isn't sponsored, but if you want to check it out, I will leave a link in the description. It is an affiliate link, so I do earn a small commission off the sales that go through that link that help the channel, but you don't have to use that link. You could go straight to output. I would definitely recommend at least checking Portal out because you could do some crazy stuff with it, which you'll see me using later in this video for a lot of the percussions, hi-hats, and more of the melodies. Next thing, I have a little bit of reverb on it. Then I have Shaper Box. I think I just chose a random preset which has like a liquid filter on it, which sounds good, and that's brought down a little bit. Let's hear that. So adding even more to it. And then finally S1, which is just widening this out. I could widen this out just a little bit more actually. So let's go like that. And then we have the final melody. Let's hear before and after again. Big difference on that. So I really like how this came out. The next thing I went in to add in is a vocal. The vocal that I added in is actually from a kit that's dropping very soon. I'll have a link in the description if you want to sign up for the waitlist. If you're watching this video when it first drops, you can go get that waitlist and get the demo of the kit. But if you're watching this later, the link will probably be updated in the description and you can actually get the full kit. The demo will still be on the site as well. But depending when you watch this, the full kit might actually be out. This vocal kit has over 140 unique vocal phrases. As you can see, it's a collab kit with Tiandaland. And you can see all of these different vocals. We have the dry versions, we have the processed versions. So if I expand this whole thing, you'll see how many vocals are in here. These are 100% royalty free, and there's some crazy vocals. Let me go ahead and let you just hear some of these. Let's go with the dry versions first.
Feel you breathing even in the dark. Maybe me and you took it too far. Find me in the moonlight. When we go the deepest, only you and me, that's I love it when it's just
Then the processed ones, just in case you don't want to put effects on yourself.
you and me, we never get tired.
This is going to be one of the craziest vocal libraries out, especially for R&B. Then we have some vocal runs down here. Crazy. So you could just drag and drop these in and adjust them to the key. So I went ahead and added this one in right here. It's pitched down to match the key, and it is reversed. It's also going through some processing. So without the processing, let me let you hear it. And with the sample. Then with the processing. Sounds crazy. And for this, I have kickstart on the vocal. Then I have little altar boy on it. Format is up by 1.4. Little bit of hyper chorus, some portal on it with this preset turned down. Again, some more textures, and then some EQ right here. So the next thing I added in was the bass. So we have 808.2 right here from the Broken Hearts drum kit, and I just copied over the MIDI, pitched it down by 3 semitones as the sample, and we get this. Then we go up an octave. And now we're ready for the drums. The drums are some of my favorite parts. The snare and the kick are simple, but the hi-hats and the percussion have a whole bunch of processing on them, and that's really how you get these trap soul beats to sound unique. So let's go with the percussion first. The percussion is actually from Arcade. I think I still have it in here. Let me go ahead and pull it up real quick. Yeah. So in here, this beat seasoning one and this extra perks, one of these was the one I chose. I'm not sure. I just went ahead and rendered it out inside of Edison. So we have this right now. Let me let you hear it by itself with the sample and no processing on the percussion. Sounded cool, right? That's not what I want for this beat. When I hear that, I'm hearing halftime, slower, a little bit of portal, a little bit of reverb, some textures, and then we get this. Let me show you, and then I'll break it down. Turn it up real quick. So as you can hear, it's really tucked in the back. That's how I wanted it to sound. I didn't want it to be too up front. So the first thing I did was some EQ. This is a huge cut in the lows and a huge cut in the highs. We're really just focusing directly on this mid-range here, because you can see if I bring this up, that could sound cool. Obviously, if we adjusted it and brought it down in volume, but I just want that mid-range. Next thing I did was some hyper chorus. Then I got halftime on it, then some reverb, and then portal right here, digital tape toys down to like probably 5%, and we get this nice percussion. Then we go into the kick and snare. So the snare is actually a new snare from the next R&B kit I'm working on that'll be out very soon. So that's why you see it called Snare R&B. And then LS Kick 15 is actually from my Resupply drum kit. And then we have Hi-Hat 4 from the Broken Hearts drum kit. But let me let you hear what these all sound like together, and then we'll break down the processing for the hi-hat and kind of the drums. But this is the pattern that we went with. So I kind of wanted to go with a little bit of a different bounce for this one. So let's hear the kick and snare by itself. So just a basic 4 hits, 1, 2, then we wait a little bit, 3, then we wait a little bit, 4, right? Nothing crazy. Instead of it just being like a boom, boom, I wanted to have like a 4 hit, but with a unique feel to it. So a lot of these beats, you want to find pockets and leave spaces, especially for R&B trap soul beats. It just helps out so much, creates a nice bounce and rhythm, leaves room for the vocals, and also leaves room for you to do cool things, especially with something like this hi-hat. So let me show you what I did with the hi-hat. So I'm gonna take the processing off the hi-hat real quick. Is a simple two-step, right? So we're here, we're just skipping every other note like this, as you can see, all the way up to here. So what's giving it that bounce is these velocity hits. Every other note right here, I brought down. So we'll hold Alt down with the mouse wheel. And then when I had these here, I brought every other one of these red ones down like that to add even more variations. And then over here, I have the roll. And the roll is just going to be third step, I believe. So create a note distance of 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we skip one note, place, skip one note, place. And that goes over like this. And when that drops, then there's a nice space again, because I knew I wanted to add in some textures, portal, delay, something. So for the processing, if we go over to the hi-hat, I have portal on it, digital tape toys. Who would have thought? One of my favorite presets. Brought the mix level down, and then shaper box, random preset that I found, just sounded cool. And then we add that in and watch what it does to the hi-hats, especially in these spots like this. That's such a big difference from this. I feel like that alone changes this whole beat and just advances it so much. Like, it's going crazy. So add effects to your hi-hats for these beats. The main thing to do to make it sound good so it's not too much is just bring the mix level down. So that's it. That's all I did for this beat. We started with one simple chord progression, a bass under that, rendered it out, reversed it, and then just went crazy with processing. There's not too many things going on with this beat, but it sounds like there's so much happening. Hopefully you learned something from this tutorial, especially when it comes to how much you could do with effects processing, because that's really how you could take your beats to the next level. As always, appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy this video, leave a like and drop a comment down below. If you're interested in the Purple Skies Analog Lab Bank or any of my drum kits, there'll be a link to those in the description. If you want to hear the full beat, there'll be a link in the description to my Spotify. I'll have it uploaded on there. As always, appreciate you watching. Till the next video, peace.